Hi, my buzzy bees, and welcome back to the Pages and Petals series where we talk about what I read in the last 3 months. So, in the month of June, I first read Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I gave this an overall 2.5 stars. This is about Galaxy, aka Alex Stern, the most unlikely member of Yale's freshman class. Raised in Los Angeles hinterlands by a hippie mom, Alex dropped out of school early into the world of shady drug dealer boyfriends, dead-end jobs, and much, much worse. In fact, by age 20, she is the sole survivor of a horrific, unsolved, multiple homicide. Some might say she's thrown her life, but at her hospital bed, Alex is offered a second chance to attend one of the world's most pretentious universities on a full ride. What's the catch, and why her? First of all, I cannot stress this enough. Please check your trigger warnings for this book. Second, the way it references real world things like Blake playing Call of Duty brings me out of the fantasy world a little bit, and I was not a fan of that. And third, and last of all, it feels like a fantasy murder mystery, but Alex just doesn't seem that clever. They manage to get everything to go her way until a friend got hurt. There aren't many high stakes, and Alex's actions just seem too good to be true. I had to listen to an audiobook to get through this. Really, really dry. Not worth the hype for me. 2.5 stars overall. Next in June, I read Someone Is Always Watching by Kelly Armstrong. I really, really like this read, and I would like to read more of her work. She dabbles in a lot of different genres like romance and mystery and thriller, and this is my first one by this author. It is about Blythe and her friends, Gabriel and brother, sister Tucker and Tanya have always been a tight friend group, attending a local high school and falling in and out of love with each other. But an act of violence has caused a rift between Blythe and Tucker, and unexpected bursts of aggression and disturbing nightmares have started to become more frequent in their lives. The strange happenings accumulate in a shocking event at school. Gabrielle is found covered in blood in front of deceased principal with no memory of what happened. Cracks in their friendship as well as their own memories start appearing, threatening to expose long-forgotten secrets which could change the group's lives forever. How can Blythe and her friends trust each other when they can't even trust their own memories? So again, I would check your trigger warnings for this book. Personally, I really enjoyed this book. It was suspenseful. It was unpredictable. The twists were great. It kept me on edge, on my seat, up until the last chapter. Is why I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars, because the ending did seem a little rush, kind of packed all into the last chapter, and I would prefer if there was a glimpse into like maybe 6 to 12 months in the future on like how the present looks now, and just not really, just like a more conclusion on the whole story together. Otherwise, as I mentioned, I really enjoyed this read, and I would recommend this if the trigger warnings suit you. Those were my readings for June. In July, I read one singular book, 980 pages, the last book of the Throne of Glass series, Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. This is as I mentioned, the 7th book in the Throne of Glass series. Is it 7th or 8th? I feel like it's 8th. If you want to skip this one for spoilers, check the timestamps. I do have them in the description below. Summary is Eileen Galathynius has vowed to save her people, but at a tremendous cost. Locked with a an iron coffin by the Queen of Fae, Aileen must draw upon her fiery will as she endures months of torture. The knowledge that yielding to Maeve will doom those she loves keeps her from breaking, but her resolve is unraveling with each passing day. With Aileen captured, friends and allies are scattered to different fates. Some bonds will grow even deeper, while others will be severed forever. As destinies weave together at last, all must fight if Aurelia is to have any hope of salvation. Years in the making, Sarah J. Maas's New York Times bestselling June-Augest series draws to an explosive conclusion as Aileen fights to save herself and the promise of a better world. This book did take me 2 months to read, so June, the last of June, and all of July. And honestly, it'll probably take me 2 years to recover from it. 2 months to read, 2 years to recover. It was very heart-wrenching, heartwarming, and just many mixed emotions. It is such a good story. I cannot recommend the series enough. I actually just finished ACOTAR, which I can talk about in my next book video. But let's just say that I enjoyed Throne of Glass better than this first ACOTAR book. So it doesn't get a 5-star for me personally because it is such a long book. It is almost 1,000 pages. And in parts, I couldn't just wait to be done with it. I do have ADHD, and keeping my attention for that long is a very hard thing to achieve. So nothing against the book, but I did kind of lose my focus here and there, and that's why it got a 4.5. So moving on to August, we have As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. This is the third installment of Good Girl's Guide to Murder. It is about the main character, Pip, who is about to head to college, but she is still haunted by the way her last investigation ended in book 2. She is used to online death threats in the wake of her viral true crime podcast, but she can't help noticing an anonymous person who keeps asking her who will look for you when you're the one who disappears. Soon, the threats escalate and Pip realizes that someone is following her in real life. When she starts to find connections between her stalker and a local serial killer caught 6 years ago, she wonders if maybe the wrong man is behind bars. Police refuse to act, so Pip has one and only choice: find the suspect herself or be the next victim. As the deadly game plays out, Pip discovers that everything in her small town is coming full circle. If she doesn't find the answers this time, she will be the one who disappears. So I ate this book up. The twists, the turns, the suspense. I was on the edge of my seat. I was mad. I was sad. I was angry. I was almost in the main character's shoes and feeling everything that they were feeling, which is just phenomenal writing. It was such a level up from both the first and second book, but especially the second book. You know my review on those already if you have watched the book video, so it should probably be here, I believe. Not sure if it's here or here, but I will be sure to put that video there, so if you haven't seen it, you can watch that after seeing this one. And if you have read the first book and are not feeling like you can get through the second book, I promise the third book is definitely worth it. I wouldn't say it's cheating if you look up Spark Notes or YouTube synopsis of the second book, because I cannot recommend this book enough. You need to read it, and if it takes a YouTube synopsis or Spark Notes to get through the second book to read the third book, you will thank me. So next in August, I read The Enigma Girls, How 10 Teenagers Broke Ciphers, Kept Secrets, and Helped Win the World War II. This is nonfiction by Candace Fleming, award-winning author. They have a powerful, fascinating story of brave and dedicated young women who helped turn the tides of World War II for the Allies with their hard work and determination at Bletchley Park. So Scholastic Middle school grade. You are to report to Station X at Bletchley Park in 4 days' time. That is all you need to know. This was the terse telegram hundreds of young women throughout the British Isles received in the spring of 1941 as World War II raged. As they arrived at Station X, a sprawling mansion in the state of disrepair, surrounded by Spartan-looking huts with little chimneys coughing out thick smoke, these young girls had no idea what work they were stepping into. Who had recommended them? Why had they been chosen? Most would never learn the answers to these questions because Bletchley Park was a well-kept secret during World War II, operating under the code name Station X. I was initially interested in this book because the genre is nonfiction. Majority of my reading is fiction. I also find history media hard to digest and understand, therefore I thought this would be an opportunity to read and digest some nonfiction. However, since this is for the middle school grade and included activities and language targeted towards such age group, I did find this read a little bit uninteresting. Overall, it was a 4-star since it was really good content for the intended audience. Next in August, I read Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. I believe this is her newest book that she released. So she writes fluffy romances. This one is about 2 writers who compete for the chance to tell the larger-than-life story of a woman with more than a couple of plot twists up her sleeve in this dazzling and sweeping new novel from Emily Henry. So we have Alice Scott, who is the eternal optimist still dreaming of her big writing break, and Hayden Anderson, who is a prize-winning human thundercloud. They're both on balmy little Crescent Island for the same reason, to write the biography of a woman no one has seen in years, when Margaret invites them both for a 1-month trial period, after which she chooses the person who will tell her story. There are 3 things keeping Alice's head in the game. 1, Alice genuinely likes people, which makes people usually like Alice, and she has the whole month to win the legendary woman over. 2, she's ready for the job and the chance to impress her perennially unimpressed family with a serious publication. And 3, Hayden Anderson, who should have no reason to be concerned about losing this book, is glowering at her in a shaken to the core way that suggests he sees her as a competition. The problem is Margaret is only giving each of them pieces of her story, pieces they can't swap or put together because of an NDA and an inconvenient yearning pulsing between them every time they're in the same room. Personally, this was not your traditional romance from Emily Henry, but it does contain its usual trope and plot twist. For me, I have appreciated more relationship development and spice, which to compare, I liked funny stories occurrence of spice a little bit more than this book. But overall, I had a really good time. The suspense of Margaret's character kept me interested and invested more than the romance. But overall, 4 stars. The last book I read for these 3 months and in August was Away by Megan E. Freeman. So it is a sequel to Alone, which again I did read in the last video. So it does happen at the same time as the first book, but it's from a different perspective. So it's a perspective of a group of children who investigate this threat that promoted large-scale evacuations in the powerful, dramatic companion novel to The Alone, and it is told in multiple POVs. After an unnamed danger forces people across Colorado to leave their homes, a group of kids, including an aspiring filmmaker and a budding journalist, find themselves in the same evacuation camp as they cope with an aftermath of having their world upended, they grow curious about the mysterious threat. As they begin to investigate, they start to discover that there's less truth and more cover-up to what they've been told. Can they get to the root of the conspiracy, expose the bad actors, and bring an end to an upheaval before it's too late? So this story is told in verse and prose, and I did not enjoy the sequel as much as its successor. I don't know if that's the right word, but I did not enjoy the sequel as much as its prequel alone. I almost DNF'd this book, but the funny thing is, I started reading this in the ER and ended up spending a long time there, and so I read the book and finished it. However, I do not recommend, did not enjoy it as much as Alone. I think that you can skip this book. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give this a like, comment, and share, and I will hopefully see you in the next video. Bye-bye!